In this video, we are going to be covering what's going on in the NFT market, some major updates on some of the largest projects, some up and coming mints you gotta pay attention to. Now, before we go ahead and get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be what's going on in the crypto markets. For the most part, Ethereum has been at that steady, 1.5, 1.6 range. Some people believe that it's going to dump during the merge because people are speculating and they're just buying the news. Some people are like, oh, the merge is going to make Ethereum faster and cheaper and all these things and environmentally friendly. But personally, for me, I don't think that will increase the demand for Ethereum just because something is faster. Right now, there's not much volume anyway, so it's kind of cheap anyways. At least it's steady for now, but be very careful and watch the narrative as we get closer to the merge. When we're getting into the NFT side, nothing much going on for the most part. Things kind of moving sideways. There's a little bit of interest in NFTs. Some NFTs become more relevant on Twitter and then they just kind of disappear, then the next one cycles through. And so it's kind of just cycling money around. I don't really feel like there's a lot of new people coming in quite yet, but hopefully that will change in the future. Now, when we are going into the greed and fear index, times are very fearful. Everyone's kind of anticipating that when the ETH merge happens, things might dump. Even for me, I'm waiting for the price to go down as well so I can DCA into ETH. Also buy some blue chip projects that I have been eyeing and looking at. And as things become more fearful, people become more bearish on crypto, that's when you start looking for the opportunities to buy. Although that is not financial advice. Things can keep going down. You can catch a falling knife and you might think you buy something cheap and it can go lower. So just be mindful of that. Now, moving forward, let's go ahead and talk about some upcoming mints. That's going to be y00ts NFT, right? So y00ts is going to be a project that is connected to degods. Degods right now is probably one of the hottest projects popping off when it comes to the volume. The floor price is going to be 748 Solana, and so people are buying these degods, 20k, 70k, 19k, 19k. And so it's nice to see somebody building for a very long time, getting some interest and even continuing to build during a bear, and now literally the hottest project on OpenSea. If you want to learn about more of the mechanics of it, definitely check it out. But I kind of want to talk about more of the marketing side, where they got that mind share, everyone's talking about them, all the influencers have whitelist, and a lot of people are very excited for this project, right? And for me, when I look at this, what I personally find interesting is that, one, the marketing is really great, where you have Frank, who is pretty much the voice of degods in terms of being on the AMAs and things like that, but he's a very charismatic person, very different and very confident in himself, which is amazing, right? And he's definitely got a lot of people in the crypto space to believe in what he's doing, and the more belief you have, the more things have an opportunity to become real. The other thing that's interesting to me is that they are building software, right? I mean, their website is really just a minting page. There's no white paper or anything like that right now, but if you kind of look around and you see some of the details that they put out, they are trying to build software, right? So one of the ideas that they had was helping artists, create art, and if people in the NFT space are able to, buy that art, put it in their collection, and then somehow the artist gets paid. I saw somewhere that they were doing tax software for NFTs or something like that. So I think they have many ideas in the pipeline that they want to do. There's not quite a killer idea quite yet, but I think a lot of people believe in it, and also because they have a strong IP. And when I mean strong IP, it's something that people understand, they see it, they believe in it, they want to buy it. As long as they get people believing in them and they have people wanting to rock the PFP and they have the money and the funds, well, they can kind of take it in any direction they want, right? I would say PXN was one of the first projects to have PFP that was aesthetically good, and pretty much what they're doing is building a software company with a PFP, right? So y00ts kind of same thing. They're building a software company with a PFP on top. And if you also look at Valhalla as well, which is another project coming out that also has a very similar application process mechanic, they have a PFP, but they are also building Stacked, which is a software company as well. So it seems like the trend is to build a software company and add a PFP layer on top, and those are going to be your core advocates to push the project forward. So very interesting stuff indeed. If you want to check out y00ts, it might have already minted by the time you watch this. Maybe they have some delays, I'm not sure, but definitely a project to watch out for. Another project that some people are talking about is going to be Garbage Friends. Now, Garbage Friends is started by Motion Marcus, who also did the Invisible Friends collection. So from my understanding, just digging through the website and things like that, one Invisible Friends equals one Garbage Friend. So I'm not sure if they are going to airdrop these Garbage Friends to Invisible Friends holders, or if they are going to allow them to mint, or whatever the case is. In the past for Invisible Friends, they had different collections under Random Character Collective. They had Mood Rollers NFTs. They kind of aren't really worth that much. So it's 0.05. The only utility that I believe it had, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you would be able to mint a Invisible Friends, and that was super hype. So around this time, this is when the Invisible Friends narrative came, and then that's when it minted, and then it just kind of dumped from there, right? So there was another collection called Slim Hood's NFT, which is 0.09. Same story, Invisible Friends narrative, everybody wanted it, and then it minted, then it dumped. The thing that's interesting for me is that I think Invisible Friends definitely popped off a lot harder than all these other projects, right? And so now they're trying to create a brand out of it. One of the drops is going to be Garbage Friends, and I think they nailed that style that can become a brand. So I'm just curious to know what the play is here, if they're trying to use Invisible Friends to say hey, it's valuable, level because you're going to get Garbage Friends, which I think that was kind of the old meta. But the difference between now and back then is like people are actually trying to build IP, so they have the 3D friends as well. So it's not just Garbage Friends, they have OG toys. I'm following along to see, you know, how these toys and different IP plays and creating product and revenue streams will affect the price, how Garbage Friends also affect the price, because narrative is very important in the NFT space. Like sometimes just saying that you're going to launch a collection will pump a price, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It just is what it is, right? Now, the next project I wanted to talk about is going to be Kaiju Kingz, and they recently just launched the Kaiju Mart. So Kaiju Kingz, you know, if you didn't know, they produce tokens every day, and then like there's ROAs, there's scales, different kind of tokens. And so there's always a question of like, okay, an NFT produces tokens, great, but what are you supposed to do with them? This is going to be their answer. They're going to be having like different merchandise. So they got clothes, pants, keyboards, which is a pretty cool one. For this pants in particular, it's going to cost 120 ROAs. So obviously if you have a bunch of tokens and you've been stacking up for like months and months and months, well, you have a place to use it. And so in a way, it's kind of like you're getting free pants. And I guess if they do this, more people will buy Kaiju Kingz and maybe they'll make more royalties. So not only are you able to buy physical goods, but you're also able to buy digital goods as well. So it seems like there's going to be this merch card where you can mint, and I believe you can change the clothes of your avatar depending on what you buy. And then also for AUG mints, I think it was a bidding process, like whoever bids the most money are able to buy this. So you're going to get these spectacles over here. The winning bids paid 160 RWAs for these glasses, right? A lot of projects that have tokens or NFTs that have tokens, they don't have a place to put tokens, but I definitely appreciate the effort that these guys do to actually, you know, create a value for a token. And like if you're a Kaiju fan and you like this stuff, then it's like, oh, it's like free stuff, right? Pretty much. All right, next thing we are going to be talking about is going to be FIFA launches their own NFT platform for soccer fans. So it's going to be called FIFA Plus. And I suppose you're going to be able to buy and collect digital collectibles relating to moments within FIFA. I think they're going to get the highlights of, you know, the best games, and they're going to turn that into NFTs. Similar to Top Shot, possibly. So for Top Shot, you know, they're basically getting highlights of a game, and then that's going to be your NFT that you can buy. So I feel, from my understanding, and I could be wrong, they're trying to mimic something similar where they don't really have to create a lot of new assets. They're just taking the footage that they have from the games, which would have a ton of footage, and just turning it into NFT and creating another revenue stream. And also as a way to create a collectible. So, I mean, similar to a trading card, right? Like a physical trading card, it's literally someone took a picture of someone playing soccer or someone playing basketball in a game, and then they sell it, right? It's good to see that FIFA, which is a large organization in football, is moving into NFTs. And I think when they do it, more sports will do it, and then other industries outside of sports will also copy them as well. Very bullish on NFTs. Yeah, the volume is very low, like we've talked about in the beginning, but all these large companies are moving so much money on the back end to make NFTs a thing, because it is the future, in my personal opinion. Next project that we are going to be talking about, it's going to be Clone X. And as you know, I recently did a Clone X video kind of detailing, you know, everything when it comes to the collection. And now that, you know, almost a week has passed, I kind of want to review what's going on with the collection. So for the most part, you know, the collection is selling, but it's not as much as I thought it would be. So it doesn't seem like the demand is quite there for the price point that they have. There is demand for sure. I mean, they're still making like millions of dollars, right? But like they're definitely not selling all the units out. And, you know, to be fair, they're pre-selling things as digital goods, and then they're going to forge it later. So it's not like they have all this like dead inventory. It's like people buy first and then they can make it later. Let's go ahead and get into like the Clone X Genesis hoodie, which, you know, I think there's going to be like 10,000 of these available, but there's only 547 that were sold, right? When you look at it like that, you're like, oh, well, you know, they didn't sell 10,000, they only sell 500. But if you think about it, you know, if each one's going to be $300 and then there's like 500 sold, that's still going to be like 150K for a hoodie, right? So if you think about it from a perspective of a drop, they're still making quite a bit of money on just one drop, right? Although they spend a lot of time and energy to do this, but still. And I think the more interesting conversation is like where the more rarer one's going to be. Like, for example, the most sought after ones are going to be the sneakers, obviously, because there's a collectible aspect to the sneakers, and there's speculation that you will one day be able to forge these in the future. I believe you can't do it right now. Obviously, the ones that are super rare, which are going to be the Murakami DNA one, and there's not that many Murakami DNAs, right? As you can see, there's only 126 total of these sneakers. The Alien one, which is the most rare trait in the Clone X collection, only 49. Then we have the Undead one, which is also rare as well, 132. So, I mean, this is the perspective of people who hold Clone X, so just take it with a grain of salt, and I'll cover both sides. But like Ash Shadow over here, my boy, he's like, the current price of artifact kicks are actually very cheap. I would attribute the fact that most sneakerheads aren't in the space. That is a good point, right? Because like sneakers in general, if you kind of look at StockX, yeah, like Air Force One stocks, things are customized and things like that. They do go for very high prices when the quantity is very low. That's for sure, right? But I think right now, just because the audience that this products are marketed to are pretty much Clone X holders, there's only like, you know, thousands of them, right? And so the demand is not quite there in terms of like this Web3 market. But I feel like over time, as people understand like this is going to hit StockX one day, people are gonna be like, oh shoot, that's like that NFT, like the OG like NFT like Murakami sneaker, right? I can imagine that like 1 year from now, like this going up in value. And I'm not saying it's a great investment because you're collecting sneakers, and I'm not saying that I'm the best like sneaker collector or anything. If that is true, and more people will enter the NFT space and more people will understand the significance of it being like one of the first sneakers in this like kind of drop, it could potentially be valuable. The demand is just not quite there for during the bear market, but you have to make the bet that Web3 is going to like take over the world for this to kind of play out, right? But in general, the way I kind of look at it is if people are buying the product, they like the product. A lot of these products over here, people are going to buy without the intention of making a profit. For example, if you're going to buy like the human stock, probably you're not going to be able to sell this for profit after you buy it, right? That's all right, right? Because there are people that are going to purchase this stock and just be like, hey, yeah, I just wanted the stock to wear and I have a free NFT that comes along with it. I mean, the stock right now is going to be like $60. For me personally, I probably will pick up Clone X Genesis hoodie just because I always wear black all the time. I like hoodies. It's a collectible. I kind of want to have that moment in history, and then I get a free NFT to be like, yeah, you know, I purchased something on the first drop, right? So for me, it's worth it. For other people, it's not worth it, right? Because they're like, that's crazy, $300 for a hoodie. But everyone has their own taste. Everybody has their own budget and things like that. In the future, they'll probably have more drops. They'll learn from this. Maybe they'll find different ways to limit supply. But I would say the smartest thing that they did was that they basically captured the max amount of revenue, which is actually from business-wise very smart. Maybe not the best for the holders or collectors, but if you think about it, if they have the opportunity to say like, hey, we're gonna have a lot of supply and people can mint it for a week, whatever doesn't mint, we cut the supply right there, and then that's end of the supply, and then now it's limited, right? What they do when they do that is like they're charging a high price, and then they're basically saying like everybody that wants to buy, they have the opportunity to buy, and they max out revenue because the supply is higher than demand. But then once they cut the mint day off, now the supply is limited, and so they captured all the demand. So they monetized all of the demand at a very high price point. And then now we have to see how it plays out when they cut the supply and the minting time is over. Will the demand for these products increase over time? And I think a lot of people don't expect it to go up for a lot of the products, actually probably like 90% of the products, and it seems like everyone's okay with that. So it's actually pretty smart that they're actually just able to sell product just like how they sell Nike clothes at a Nike store. Plus you get a free NFT, so there might be more benefits down the line, right? And so with that said, that is everything we got to cover for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and make sure to follow me on Twitter at Patrick Dang. Link is also in the description, and I will see you guys in the next one.